He was on the Celtics at the end of 2022. He went to Barcelona last year. And if he's going to be playing anywhere internationally, Barcelona's at least like a real one.
Was he really on the Celtics at the end of 2022?
I mean, he played for the Celtics in 2022 is the best way for me to say that. I'm not saying that he was out there like getting buckets or anything.
Anyway, Jabari Smith, 10.5.
Probably bet some of that at this point.
What?
I probably bet that already.
The under?
I don't know. I have like 28 bets out already today. I don't remember anything I did.
How's it feel, man?
I don't know. If I didn't have to do anything else, I would probably really like it, but I'm so unattached to it.
We haven't talked since betting went live in North Carolina, though.
I haven't. It's only been today and yesterday that I've really gotten into anything. I haven't had time or enough care in the world to do it.
Anyway, I assume we're live.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Stochastic.com NBA Deeper Dive. I had to, apparently this computer purchased by our employers years ago does not have Bluetooth capability. I mentioned this to you the other day. Like, it just doesn't have Bluetooth. So now I got to spin. And I also went to get, I was going to go old school, go wired headphones, right? I was going to go get the Apple wired headphones until I remembered, Josh, that they changed the input jack on all of those. So you can't just plug them in.
Okay, so they make adapters, but just buy a Bluetooth adapter.
Okay.
You can do $5 probably on Amazon, plugs into a USB port, good to go.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. I'll get one tonight. So then this computer I'll be able to, that'll work?
Yep.
All right, sweet.
I might have overreached with $5, but it's like comically not expensive.
I don't care what it costs as long as
I mean, you're kicking that to the company either way if you need to.
But I had to twist the mic and adjust my setup a little bit. But happy to have you guys with us. Talking a little basketball. 6-game slate today. Yeah. Dave Loughran, Josh Engleman going playback after this. By the way, I'm going to join you guys. Not right when it starts, but that's cool because there's only one 7:30 game anyway. And then we got 3 8 p.m.s, 2 10 p.m. games. That's what we're working with today.
Yeah. I see one for $9.97, 56,000 ratings on Amazon.
Quality star ratings?
Yeah. We're in good shape. Yeah, you're good to go.
How you feel, man?
Pretty good. This slate is gross. Not as gross as yesterday, and I was able to avoid that one, luckily for me. But at least we got a lot of the news so far, although I kind of would have preferred the chaos. I didn't want the Luka news until after 8 o'clock. I wanted people to die on the vine with that one. But what are you going to do?
Looking at it now, though, I mean, what's the only like legitimately big news we're waiting on? Clippers?
Yeah, Clippers.
Kobe White.
Anthony Simons is questionable now. Kobe White's already out.
Okay, he was officially ruled out?
Yeah.
I thought he went back to questionable.
Did he really?
No, you're right.
He is questionable on the injury report.
But now they're saying he might not return. He could return on Saturday.
Yeah, The expectation, I assume just didn't update their injury report because that dude is like out.
Yeah, I swear earlier in the day he was out on the injury report and then it changed, but
Let's find out.
whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll pay attention to all that. You got live before lock coming up after this. I guess we could just dive into this. What do you say?
He would 2 o'clock injury report in, well, questionable 3 and 4. He's been questionable the whole time, which is dumb, but yeah, he's not playing today.
There's no chance he's playing today. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, well, you know what? Yeah, he wouldn't have been out anyway because they're playing their second of a back-to-back. So
yeah, but yeah, it doesn't seem like he's playing.
hey, before we get started, if you don't mind, take 1 single second, show us some love, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tone for your sins here on the NBA Deeper Dive. As Josh will tell you, we don't get the 500. Screen goes blank for live before lock.
Why do you gotta lie to the people, man? That doesn't happen. This is so disrespectful to our viewers to tell them something like that.
Just going with your silly gimmick, man.
Never heard of that gimmick before in my life.
Anyway, take a single second, hit that thumbs up. Goes a long way for us, and we appreciate you big time. And chemistry and playback, appreciate it, man. Thank you. Best show in the industry with you two specifically. It's a very nice thing to say.
It's true.
Good shout out to Jordan Klein for producing. Let's dive into this. Phoenix and Boston. Phoenix Suns, 5-point dogs on the road in Boston here. So I guess first things first, you look at a slate like this and you go, okay, there's only 6 games. So every team has to have, like aggregate ownership has to be somewhat respectable on some of these teams, like every team to some, not Phoenix today. Bradley Beal, highest owned player that I'm seeing. And we updated ownership less than an hour ago, 3%. Kevin Durant, 3%. Devin Booker, Yusuf Nurkic, 2% ownership. There's nothing going to the Suns. Granted, it's a brutal matchup against Boston, pretty low total, but even on a 6-gamer, nothing's going to this Suns team.
I got 1 share of Bradley Beal, and that is it. Nothing else. The crazier part, ignore DraftKings ownership for a second. It's way crazier on FanDuel because they're getting the same lack of ownership, and FanDuel doesn't include either one of the 10 o'clock games. It's only a 4-game slate on FanDuel, and these guys, Kevin Durant is 6% owned.
That's mind-numbing.
Dude.
How is that possible?
They cut 2 of the games off the slate, and you still can't get to Phoenix with any sort of confidence.
So hold on a second. Are the prices just egregious on FanDuel?
KD's 10K, Booker's 9,400, Beal's 8K. The Beal price is a struggle.
It's a little wild.
I think Booker looks all right, but he's still only 3% owned. Like, he's hard to get to.
And I don't.
It's not a great matchup, clearly.
I'm a big Yusuf Nurkic fan, but going up against this Boston team, particularly from like a defensive perspective, I don't have a ton of confidence in his minutes today either.
It's just not that kind of spot, I don't think. Especially against Boston. I mean, look, there's no Porzingis, but like I think Al Horford could do a completely reasonable job on Nurk. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. It's really tough when you look at the FanDuel side to want to get to any of these guys.
How about the Boston side? Because as you mentioned, Kristaps Porzingis is out for this game.
Oh.
Jaylen Brown. And here's another situation where, I mean, things are going to change. We're going to get some news for sure. Jaylen Brown right now, if he ends up, because he's still questionable, at least on the last injury report, 5:30 injury report. If Jaylen Brown with injury/illness, left hip and an illness, if he doesn't play, what does that end up doing for Boston? Because right now you're getting like 18% Tatum, 13% Jaylen Brown, but already no Porzingis. Jason Tatum would end up going from a good play to a guy that, how do you get away from it sub 10K if Jaylen Brown is out?
Yeah, they're going to look way, way, way better if we end up losing Jaylen Brown here. I'm not getting to as much as I was earlier today. I'm pretty neutral on Tatum and Brown. I'm actually way under on Tatum, but pretty neutral to Jaylen Brown. But if you lose Jaylen Brown here, you're obviously giving a massive bump to Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. Now, they're not at the same price points they were 2 or 3 games ago when this sort of situation happened and you got them at sub 4K. They're priced a bit more appropriately now. but you're certainly giving a pretty sizable bump to Tatum, to Holiday, and to Derek White at the very least. And those guys go from like Derek White's pulling no ownership. Drew Holiday's basically pulling no ownership. That won't be the case if Jaylen Brown ends up out. These guys are just going to get a bit of a rate bump in a big way. Like someone like Drew Holiday at 6,600, you take Porzingis off the floor and you take Jaylen Brown off the floor. Drew Holiday is going to look a little bit more like normal Drew Holiday, and obviously Tatum is going to be the I can't even I don't know what the usage bump is off the top of my head, but I'd imagine it's pretty staggering considering Jaylen Brown's around 31% as constituted.
37.2% with no Porzingis and no Jaylen Brown.
There you go. Yeah, it's a big bump in a decent enough matchup. I mean, Phoenix is basically middle of the pack defense, middle of the pack pace. You're certainly not worried about Phoenix from a defensive standpoint. That your concern is their offense. It could be a much better spot for Boston if this breaks correctly, but mostly for their three main guys that are left. I don't think we're going to have a ton of value coming out of Pritchard and Hauser.
Yeah, and look, Tatum, 622 minutes without Brown and Porzingis, essentially a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy.
Yeah.
Sub 10K.
It's a great price tag. He'll be very easy to get to at that point.
You would think. And also, if you're looking at the highest priced options on this slate, Luka's out.
Yep.
Clearly Joel Embiid out. Giannis is probable. I really thought they'd be more than 7.5 point favorites today for what it's worth. They were 8.5. It moved to 7.5 last I looked.
Yeah. So they're based on net rating, they're plus 8.9 on the year. You want to say Phoenix is a little bit better than their aggregate for the season when everybody is in. I could believe that. Call them +3, call it, plus 8 at home. Then should be around 10. No Porzingis probably takes it down to 8. It's pretty close.
No. Sorry. I was saying the Giannis and Sixers matchup. I thought that would be more than 7.5.
Gotcha. I was like, I think we're right here. To me, the Phoenix Boston line is telling me that I think Jaylen Brown is playing.
No, it's 5.
Oh, it's 5 now?
Yeah. What I was saying is the Milwaukee game went from 8.5 to 7.5. Celtics is now 5.5. Yeah.
Okay. So the opposite of what I just said.
But now it's 5.5, juiced minus 118 to the Celtics. So we'll see. I don't know. It's moving. Honestly, since I looked at it an hour ago, it's moved a little bit. So we'll see. But either way, let's assume Jaylen Brown is in for a moment. Like Tatum still sub 10K looks pretty decent on an abbreviated slate, but would look amazing otherwise. It's just, how do you get to guys even without Porzingis like Holiday if Jaylen Brown is in?
I don't think you do, really. Holiday's like a 0.95 guy in this sort of spot. Good, not great, but clearly a guy that can be rostered, but certainly not a priority. He's like 5% optimal in the boom bust tool, around 4% owned. We need Jaylen Brown out to be interested in any major way for anybody other than Tatum and Brown.
Let's talk about Philly then.
Let's do it.
We
got a boom bust tool update like 10 seconds ago, if that matters to you.
Yeah, let me pull that up. 7.5 point dogs today against Milwaukee. I don't know, man. This team's dreadful right now. Like I'm not being hyperbolic. Like this is not an exaggeration. They're dog shit right now. Did you see the score they beat the Knicks, by the way, in that first game of the home and home series? Did you see the score of that game?
Yeah, I thought I accidentally pulled up a box score from like 1998.
Yeah. Dude, 79-73. 79-70, and they won on the road, which is even more embarrassing for the Knicks.
It's like a college score.
Knicks came back and handled them in the following game in Philly. But I'm pretty sure the Sixers scored below 80 points in back-to-back games. Like they're in a bad way right now, Josh, and it's really hard to prioritize them. Now, I will say Maxey at 4% is at least remotely interesting because he's going to have those games where he just gets up 28 field goal attempts, gets to the line. Milwaukee actually has struggled against opposing backcourts this season. Not having Holiday will do that to you, replacing him with Damian Lillard. But like that has been a
slightly different players, I guess.
Yes, a little bit. I think Maxey's at least worth talking about, but this team's in a really bad way.
They are, and it shows in the ownership for sure. Like 6% owned Maxi, highest guy we have here. We did get Kyle Lowry up to 11% optimal. He's showing up with a little bit of positive leverage. So, keep an eye there, but there's not a priority here for Philadelphia. This team looks pretty rough. If I'm getting to anybody, it's Maxi. I got 8% of him. I'm like, that's like as good as it's going to get. Very different story on FanDuel. Lowry's like 20% owned. Harris is 20% owned. Bamba's getting like 15% ownership. So they look a little bit different there. But on the DK side, this pricing is just not that good. Now that we have Maxi back, like I think all of these guys are like a couple $100 overpriced.
Yeah. I mean, the only argument would be that Maxi's not overpriced, but everybody else seems like they are.
Yeah, he looks good enough. The problem is the range today. That we're inundated with people that look like him. Jalen Brunson, 9K, Booker, 88, Harden, 87, Lillard, 86, Maxi, 85, Kyrie, 84. Even if you want to say like Fred VanVleet, 8,300, that's just generic guards straight down the line. You end up having to compare these guys to 7, 8 guys. That's when you start, unless you're in a Kyrie Irving situation where, oh, now Luka's not here and you're projected completely different. Every one of these guys is going to be pretty similar relative to salary.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, let's not even get to what happens if like Kawhi's out and James Harden is in.
Oh, and yeah, that's another guy you're just giving an immediate giant boost to. Not to mention, Paul George is sitting there at 8,300 in the same range, going from unowned to definitely owned.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. And the only reason I mentioned Maxi is because it's not the worst spot. It's not the worst price, but that's just at this point, just trying to find something from nothing because it's a tough team to get to right now too. Plus, it's like between Oubre and Buddy Hield and Harris, do you really feel like trying to figure out which one of those guys it's going to be anyway?
Absolutely not.
No.
Couldn't think of anything I want to do less than try to sift through like the fourth best dude on the Sixers today.
Milwaukee, on the other hand, Giannis is probable as always, but I mean, 11-4, by far the highest priced guy now that Luka's out. I mean, you've got SGA at 10-4, but no Luka, so Giannis 11-4. Look, this is objectively a good spot. It's not like you have any quality rim protection for Philadelphia anymore. Defensively, they're bad. The only downside is that Philly, usually when teams get worse, they play at a faster pace. They're playing at a snail's pace right now. Like,
I was shocked to see that. I figured they would have been insane from a pace. Like I figured Maxi was just running. Now he was out for a bit, but like not that long.
No, but I went back since Joel Embiid went down. Yeah, and they're playing at like the third or fourth slowest pace.
I mean, in a way I get it, but in a way I don't. And I know that's a dumb way to say that.
I'd get it if you lost your top offensive player, but you had a really good defense. They don't have a really good defense. And Melton's out too.
Yeah. So like the piece that I get is like when you're bad, you want the least amount of possessions possible. When you're good, you want the most amount of possessions possible. So if you're going to be getting worse, in theory, you should play a little slower, try to increase the variance of a game. But I just feel like that process is running completely the opposite direction of what Tyrese Maxey actually is.
Right. Also, a lot of times when teams are bad, they play at a faster pace anyway. Like we see it all the time.
Because they're coughing the ball up and
it just gets
from bad plays. Yeah.
Well, what happens though? No, you go down so much so early and then you have to force every possession.
That doesn't hurt either.
Like you just have to get the ball out. You have to try and speed the game up. But anyway, it's a good matchup for Giannis, but is this a priority spot for you today? He's coming in around 14% right now.
Oddly enough, no, I don't have a single share of him right now, which is kind of surprising, but I think I'm just jamming a lot of this other value. And usually on these days, one of these studs goes for 90 and all of my night is over almost immediately. The only guy that I'm getting here from Milwaukee is Brook Lopez, oddly enough. 8.5% optimal, 6% owned. I got him in 22% of my lineups. We just have a couple guys that are pulling like pretty heavy ownership at the center spot. And that's just sort of become my pivot in a lot of the builds that I make. Getting away from one individual, like mid-tier-ish center to just go to a different one that doesn't appear to be getting that same sort of ownership. And I think Brook Lopez is kind of that guy for me, which I don't mind at all here against Philly. I mean, it's Paul Reed and Mo Bamba on the opposite side, not Joel Embiid. So the problem for Brook Lopez is he's been so shitty lately. 0.77 DraftKings points per minute over the past 30 days. That is nowhere near what his like true talent level is. Maybe this is a doc thing. I don't know. But that shitty play is also coincided with the fact that he's down to 5,200. And I think that price tag is just a bit too low for someone like Brook Lopez.
You know, it's interesting looking at the Sims run. Jordan has it up on playback. See if we can throw it back up there on YouTube. 34% exposure right now to Giannis.
Yeah, like I like that more than what I have.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great spot. I mean, the game could also be over by the third quarter, but yeah, we're getting 34% Giannis, not much else. 7%.
I'm rerunning my stuff now too with that fresh ownership update and everything. So we'll see if that changes at all. I don't think that it will, but like it's not that I have like I'm a point and a half behind us on Giannis, and that's enough to just keep him away from everything that I have.
Beasley questionable. If he ends up sitting, does that change anything for you?
We get value here. So like Pat Connaughton would probably get a bit of a bump. Pat Beverly would probably get a little bit of a bump. Maybe he seems to like be okay with AJ Green. He's the flat 3K. Like if you can start getting AJ Green to 18 minutes, 20 minutes, 22 minutes, you start to have a conversation about him being a value option just because of his price tag. Jaylen Brown's in, by the way.
Okay, he is in.
We're going to create value if Malik Beasley's out, but it's not going to be to guys you're like excited to get to.
Yeah, it's just going to be filler pieces that pop into a few lineups. Washington and Houston.
Oof.
Yeah, Washington and Houston. I mentioned that Jabari Smith rebound prop earlier. What's that?
There you go. We didn't call him Jabari Parker this time.
Yeah. There's certain names that I'll never like. There's certain names that just there's a mental block where I'll never get them right, and I'll always call them the wrong person. But yeah, we actually have the under 10. I had a feeling this would be the case. Under 10.5 as a positive EV play right now over on OddsShopper for BetMGM. Not particularly surprised by that. By the way, they're getting rid of the deal. If you guys are still dragging your feet on this BetMGM deal, the bet 5, get 150 in bonus bets, that is going away. They're changing it to the first bet insurance, where it's like $1,500 first bet insurance, which is good, but it's only good for people who have the bankroll to max that bet out. Bet 5, get $150 in bonus bets over at BetMGM. Links in the description for that. Jordan can throw it in the chat, but all you have to do is deposit 10 and bet 5 on literally anything you want. And whether you win or lose, you're getting 150 in bonus bets. So, I mean, you think of it in the simplest terms. Anywhere else, someone gives you 150 bucks for $5, you're going to take it. At BetMGM right now, it's worth doing. Plus, why not get on as many books as possible? Make sure you're getting the best odds. Make sure when you're sweating bets on playback with us and we go, all right, I'm going to throw something in on BetMGM, that you can do the same thing. And it's just getting bonus bets. Maybe you're in North Carolina, like Josh, and you're like, oh, I get these bonus bets everywhere. It's actually $200 in bonus bets in North Carolina. But yeah, check it out. Link down there in the description and in chat. Bet 5, get 150 in bonus bets. Just sign up, verify yourself. Takes a minute to do so. 21 years or older to gamble. If you have a gambling problem, you should probably call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Otherwise, wager on, my friends. All right, let's talk about this Washington team. So 8.5-point dogs against Houston. This is where it gets kind of fun, Josh, because they're without Bagley, obviously. Rashawn Holmes ruled out once again. So now you're talking, I mean, Kuzma at center again?
Yeah. Especially against Houston if they're running out Jabari, not Parker. Exactly.
No Şengün, no Tari Eason on the other side either. So,
no Cam Whitmore.
No Cam Whitmore. But yeah, like speaking from a bigs perspective, both of these teams are just going to be running out small lineups today.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes me like Kyle Kuzma. 17% owned right now. We have him 16% optimal. I got him in 30% of my stuff. 8,200. You're obviously usually playing him at power forward. He's expensive, but we're talking about a guy that's been 1.3 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days. He's got like 30% usage. And Houston's not as good as they would have been if Alperen Şengün and Cam Whitmore were out there. This line would be a lot higher. Meanwhile, Washington's just going to struggle to stay in it. But Kuzma's going to be out there for 36 minutes trying to get shots up and save the team. So to me, he looks like the best option. Getting to a bit of Avdia. We have him 10% optimal. Getting to a little bit of Koulibaly and Corey Kispert. The one guy that I'm not getting to is Tyus Jones. We do have him with a little bit of negative leverage. He's right around 10% optimal, 12% owned. I don't have a single share of him. He's the only guy that I'm not really getting to here from Washington that's getting any sort of love. But I think Kyle Kuzma is a bit of a priority for me.
He certainly looks good when you consider the fact that, now granted, it's like you're talking two smaller front courts here, but
yeah,
there's a real advantage to going up against a smaller front court like this in Houston, because maybe it doesn't make a difference to some, but like not having Şengün or Tari Eason, what real alternatives do they have? Like, they don't.
They don't. I mean, if they want to like just put out the best lineup they can, that's the situation for both of these teams. Like, I think they're better off with Jabari Smith, and I think the Wizards are better off just playing Kyle Kuzma.
They don't. Yeah, it's not like they need to go big today, but
no,
Kuzma should have a pretty easy time getting opportunities at the very least, rebounding perspective. He's also been facilitating well. Like he's been on an absolute tear lately, man. 8,200 is expensive. I know Houston defensively not bad, not the fastest paced team, but you're not paying a massive premium for Kuzma. If he kept up this production, you're getting them closer to 9K. So I think it's a reasonable price, even as an 8.5 point dog. How much? And by the way, we're getting 21% in the Sims, so slightly above the field there, but we're below the field on pretty much everybody else in the Sims run.
Yeah, the only guy that I'm over on is Denny Avdia, and I have 14%, so not exactly a lot. And I think that's only happening because he's a small forward. I'm under half the field on Kispert and just under on Koulibaly.
Well, I guess it's time to talk about Houston. This is where a ton of ownership is coming in. Jordan, flip that over to the Houston side too, so I can see what this Sims run is pulling up on these guys. I would assume, yep, Amin Thompson, 55%. Jabari Smith, 39%. Van Vliet, 29. Dylan Brooks, 25. Only 10% point guard, shooting guard, Jalen Green. But I mean, some of these spots are just going to look good. Like, I know Jabari Smith, 6,600, but he's also going up against a team that legitimately doesn't have a center.
Or talent.
Yeah,
which is also
right,
important.
He's an 8.5 point favorite, right?
Yeah. Washington sucks. They're the number 30 defense in the league. That helps too. I'm getting a lot of these guys, but slightly different proportions. I am not going to have Amin Thompson tonight. I'm going to be way under that mark. Negative 22% leverage. Is he the most optimal play from Houston? Yeah. I don't even have a different projection. We have 31.7. I have 31.1. I got 10% of him on my run. I'm getting a ton of Jalen Green. I probably have him a little over projected. I'm cool with it. When you run these rates for what they've done with Şengün off and with Cam Whitmore off, Jalen Green has like a 36% usage rate. Now, I'm not projecting that. I went to 32, but I'm already betting his over, and I'm playing him in half of my lineups right now. He's the guy I like the most relative to ownership, although Fred VanVleet's not far behind. We've got him 18% optimal, 22% owned. Another guy with a massive usage bump, a massive assist rate bump. And let's not forget, basically the best matchup that exists in DFS. Worst defense in the league. Number 3 team in pace. I have 66% of Dylan Brooks, which is just a death sentence right now. 62% of Van Vliet. 50% of Jalen Green, 30 of Jabari Smith, and just 10 of Amin Thompson. The moral of this story is you got to play a lot of Houston. We can quibble over who we like most, but I think we can confidently agree all 5 of the starters for Houston are borderline priority plays in some form.
They have to be. It's funny because, like, yeah, there's some decent Washington plays today, but the matchup still isn't nearly as good. Houston's an 8.5 point favorite with no Şengün, who already changes the whole makeup of this team when he's in or out.
Yeah,
you're right. Like, it doesn't really matter who you're getting to. you got to be getting to some Houston. I do want to talk a little bit about Jalen Green though, right? Because he was like, this fella went cold for quite some stretch.
Sure
But
did.
the funny thing about him, and I know it wasn't reflected in last game against San Antonio, he has a 36% usage rate with Alperen Şengün off the floor this season. Like, that's a monster number. Again, I understand last game we didn't see that, but going into last game, 36% usage rate with Şengün off the floor on the year.
It's
That's
a
a huge number.
massive number. Yeah. And like I said, if I give him 36, that's insane. Like I can't, if you do it, you're nowhere near his points prop, which is interesting. I cut it to 32 and I'm still way over on him. But like, where does the truth lie? I don't know. But to me, he's the type of guy that's going to get all of those shots up. They don't really have anybody else that's going to do that. If you don't think it's Jalen Green, then you have to think that Dylan Brooks is shooting more.
Exactly. But even if Dylan Brooks is shooting more, it's still like, we know what Dylan Brooks shooting more looks like, right? It's not like Dylan Brooks is not controlling the game, even if he's shooting more. It's like they're set up in the half court and he gets dished the ball. Like, it's, I don't know. All I'm saying is Jalen Green has blow up potential in this spot without Şengün. And just because it didn't happen last game doesn't mean that this guy doesn't jack up like 30 shots today.
I hope he does. I hope
How
he
much
does.
are you getting of Green?
52.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I could like, it's the guy that's most shot happy by a mile on this team, playing without their best player, taking on the worst defense and one of the fastest teams. Like, if that's the stand I'm taking, I'm willing to live with that.
And how many minutes are you giving him?
34.
All right. To be clear, like, he could play 37, no problem.
Played it in their last game.
Yep.
Played 39, 38, and 39 in back-to-back-to-back games to close out February and the start of March. Yeah. He's got wiggle room up as well. And I assume if he's playing 37, I'm going to feel a little bit better too. But like, I love him today. Point guard, shooting guard too. It's not even like a solo position.
I know. And mid 7K is not a bad price point.
No, he's a fantasy point per minute guy normally. And then you factor in Şengün being off the floor, assist rate bump, usage rate bump. That certainly has to go up. Bump that per minute rate because of the pace. Yeah, like I love every bit of this.
Jason in the playback chat. By the way, you guys can watch live and playback. You're ever interested in doing that? Hop on. I mean, I'm monitoring chats from both sides of this, YouTube and in playback, but we're not just live on playback after the fact. We're live on playback right now as well. He said, and if Green is making them shots, it's on. Yes, that there is a qualifier there. Like if Jalen Green is just missing shots, there's not much recourse here. He's not a particularly, he's not going to give you a lot elsewhere. But if he's on, yeah, like 35 real points is a legitimate possibility. So,
yeah. Yeah, like I've got his target score at 46. That is,
yeah.
I mean, that's, it's 6 points higher than what we have him projected for. I obviously have a bit of a higher projection.
Also, you can live with it if he ends up just shooting poorly, but the usage is there. Like you can live with it.
Like that is gonna happen. Like he's gonna
happen a lot.
He's gonna shoot. I mean, this is a dude that loves getting downhill. Loves getting to the rim. Can you think of a better spot to get to the rim against a team that only has Kyle Kuzma meeting you there?
Dude, I tell you what, I was talking about an over on him the other day. He did not hit it, but it was the Spurs on the second of a back-to-back, and Wemby, they'd said, well, he might not play. And I'm thinking, my God, if Wemby doesn't play in this game, Green's just he's going to dart to the rim on every single possession.
Yeah.
I suppose having Wemby around the rim makes a difference, but
a little bit.
But this is the best spot you could get as far as complete and utter absence of rim protection. So
he takes 6.5 shots per 75 possessions at the rim. That is 82nd percentile in the league. Just in general for Washington, they allow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 9th most shots at the rim. And that's including when they had Gafford be the center and every other real center. That's everybody at that point.
Well, these are the upside type of players. They can also kill you, but like 25% of his shots come at the rim, 44% of his shots come from three. So you're talking like 70% of his shots are from three or at the rim, and it's exactly where you want it. So
Yep.
We'll see. He's a lock for like 2 for 19 shooting tonight, but
no doubt. Thank God this game's not at 7:30 because I would have to watch it happen on playback. Every guard that I take a stand on when we watch playback is like 1 for 10 in the first quarter. The moment we turn it off, they come back.
Yeah.
It's happened constantly.
For our first basket sweat tonight for the 8 p.m. games on playback, because I'm joining you at 8. They won't tip till like 8:11, right?
Sure.
On principle, I may just go Jalen Green.
Why, you want to double jinx me? Thanks, man.
Maybe I'll parlay Jalen Green and Jabari Smith first basket.
That's a good idea, dude. I hope they let you put that in.
I was just seeing if you were paying attention. No, they let.
Well, I'm looking up his first basket odds right now.
I would imagine sports books would allow you to do that.
They should. Won't. You deserve it if you're willing to do it.
Exactly. Anything else for Houston?
No, it's the 5 starters and nothing else. Unless they mess up their starting. I don't know why they would change the starting lineup, but if they go back to like Jeff Green or try to start Jock Landale, that changes things. But I'm going to go with the same lineup they had before.
Cheston said, looks like you play a lot of Houston, but will you limit the number of Houston players in a single lineup?
No.
No. And I don't think you need to. I don't think it's going to be like you're getting 5 in every lineup, even close. You know, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like that.
No, neither do I.
Like they're missing Şengün. It's not like Memphis missing 15 players and having 8 available.
He's plus 475 on DraftKings for first field goal. The only person ahead of him is Kuzma.
Hold on, dude. I can find better odds on that.
Well, it was just the first one I had open. I'd rather take Van Vliet at plus 850.
All right. FanDuel plus 600.
There you go. Yeah, Greg and I figured out that DraftKings first basket odds are atrocious in comparison to everybody else.
Okay, so now that you're betting, this is great because we can finally talk about this. Like touchdown props, home run props, double props, all that stuff. There's always 1 or 2 books for like goal scorer for NHL. There's always 1 or 2 books that just have terrible odds for those markets, and you'll never find the plus EV spot for them. You know?
Yeah. When we were trying to pick first basket odds, I had Fontecchio pulled up when Greg was talking about how it won. So I was going to take him on DK, and I was like, I got him at like plus 600. And Greg was like, oh, he's plus 850 on FanDuel. I was like, I don't want to give that up. So like, I'm just going to pick a different guy. And then he sure as shit, he went out there and scored the first basket anyway.
Dude, I tell people all the time, if you're going to make, I don't want to call them degen bets, right? But like, if you're going to make bets where it's, you know, there's no side of the market. It's just, what are the odds for him to be the first touchdown scorer, hit a home run, first home run, all that. If you're going to make those stuff, you have to at the very least shop it. Cause you could find like a plus 300 somewhere and then a plus 600 on that same prop. Imagine betting 100, you win a 300 and realize you could have doubled that on the same prop. It's
so annoying for no additional effort, no additional anything. Like it was just somewhere else. Like you're trying to exchange your currency. You just walk up to the window that gave you the shittiest one.
Exactly. So I'm going Jalen Green tonight, plus 600, baby. Let's make it happen. I'll be joining.
I just took Van Vliet.
You going Van Vliet?
Yeah, plus 850 for me. So I assume it's like 950 for you.
What?
If you're looking for wherever you're grabbing it, like I have no doubt that's the worst line.
Oh, dude, Odd Shopper gives you all the lines for first basket too.
Yeah.
Plus 900, yeah, but that's on Tipico, so yeah. And then PointsBet will not allow most people to bet there, or what is it now? Whatever it is.
You know better than I do.
They emailed me saying that, like, as they open, they're like, we won't allow it. So that's, yeah, I haven't even signed up. All right, let's keep going here. Anything else for you? Actually, I think I asked you that. Let's talk about the Clippers and the Chicago Bulls. Clippers 6-point dogs. Harden and Kawhi Leonard, both questionable here. Sorry, 6-point favorites, Clippers. 214 total. Bulls playing their second of a back-to-back today. That was an OT game, right? Against Indy last night. Am I wrong?
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
DeRozan dropped like 43 or something.
He did indeed.
46.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overtime win. So some of these guys
he
are
had
coming
67 DK points.
I know. Huge game. But some of these guys are coming off pretty significant minutes. I mean, DeMar DeRozan yesterday played 44, 43 to DeSumo, 43 for Vooch, 36 for Kobe White. He's out. 37 for Caruso. So, yeah, dude, second of a back-to-back at home, but second of a back-to-back coming off an overtime game where 3 starters played 40+ and one of them's out.
I assume, let me type this in before I just start talking out of my ass. Yeah. So I like the Chicago side a lot more than I like the Clippers side. The Clippers side is the tough side here.
News pending, of course.
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard questionable, James Harden questionable. It doesn't feel like Kawhi is going to play given the way the last game went, but who the hell knows? Like if the back spasm's just not a spasmin, then I guess he's ready to go. They don't look great. 8% ownership to Zoo, 9% to Kawhi. We do have Kawhi at 16% optimal, which I do find interesting. Zubac's at 11. I have 8% of both of those guys and not a single share of anybody else. But you get one of Kawhi and Harden out, and then we start having a conversation about $8,300 Paul George, shooting guard, small forward eligible, and then you're bumping up whatever dude is left. That's when it starts to get interesting. But we're going to need somebody to be out for Chicago or for the Clippers to really want to get here. Bulls defense is decent enough, but they're 26th in pace. It's not a very good matchup for the Clippers. But we need the news. It's paramount right now.
Yeah, it is. Avi, by the way, with a super chat. Thanks, man. It said, thanks for the help last night. First Bink in NBA this year. Good stuff, man. Oh, you can like super chats now. Why can't you just like and dislike any of these comments if you can like super chats?
I would get carpal tunnel disliking all of those damn messages. Jesus.
Yeah. Congrats though, Avi. Appreciate you.
Don't give me that ability.
Andrew said that was
a full-time job.
Andrew said that was the Bulls' 10th OT game this year. It's funny you say that because it feels like they're going to OT every other night. Because I constantly am betting Bulls unders and I lose in overtime.
I have no memory of any individual game any longer, but that feels like a staggering amount.
Calvin,
I love my job.
Yeah.
Love it. I wouldn't trade this job for anything other than retirement. Or like, the porn star or something, but that's not going to get anybody anywhere.
That. What's up, Calvin? No, yeah. But I think I'm telling you, man, people think that you just are miserable. You know what? I'll keep the dream alive. I'm not.
I mean, to be fair, I am miserable, but I love my job.
I'm not going to
half of that's right.
But
I mean, I was doing this even before it was a job. Now I get paid for it. I'd be an asshole if I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Coors Light sitting next to me right now.
I did this job at my old job. That wasn't DFS.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I mean, we can cover both sides of this game. Good. The problem here, though, is that actually it's not a problem because we only have one 7:30 game. So like, we should have this Clippers news. That's the good thing. That's the good. It's good it's in Chicago and not in LA today because that would suck given that there's 2 hours between those games and the 2:10s.
To be fair, I would prefer that. Well, I would want this to be a 10 o'clock. I want as much late news as possible to ruin the rest of people's days because the late swap tool on Stochastic is awesome. And you guys should be using it every time you can for situations like that. But yeah, this is an interesting one in terms of news.
It is. And I mean, at this point, let's just say everybody's active for the Clippers. Okay. Is there anything like seriously actionable for LA? Maybe some Kawhi.
Kawhi and Zubats are the only guys that are north of 5% optimal.
Yeah. On Chicago right now, with it is funny because you have no Kobe White. Nobody's really seeing a huge boost as a result of that.
They should. I'm giving them that boost.
Are you?
Yeah, I've got 30% of DeRozan right now at 14% ownership. I've got 34% of Dosunmu at 18, 10% Caruso, 14 of Vooch, a little bit of Torrey Craig for some value. We've got Caruso, Dosunmu, and Vooch all around 15% optimal. DeRozan's at around 11. But there's a rate bump for these guys with Kobe White off the floor. There's an assist bump and a pretty sizable one for DeMar DeRozan with Kobe White off the floor. It's a matchup against the Clippers that may or may not be missing one or two of their best players, which I find to be pretty interesting. I like getting here, especially at home. Like only 6-point dogs, definitely coming off of that weird game, but this is what the second shortest line of anything that's out there today. Like this is as close as anything's really going to get today.
Dude, Vooch is a 1.3 DK point per minute guy with Levine and Kobe White off the floor this year.
I got him at 1.25 in this matchup, 14% of him at 9% ownership. I'm very happy to get to that. Could play more minutes. Who the hell knows, you know? Like he played Vooch played 43 yesterday.
Night.
So what, 38? No reason we can't see that again here today.
So the only other thing that concerns, it's funny because remember how I was telling you about Vooch unders? I had an under on Vooch against Cleveland. I was, man, first of all, Cleveland, not the best spot at all. Second of a back-to-back. Vooch has only played more than 30 minutes one time in a back-to-back all season. And then, lo and behold, Josh, it goes to overtime. He plays 40 minutes. So what I'm saying is their last back-to-back. No, I'm sorry, not their last back-to-back. Their second to last back-to-back, he played 40 minutes in overtime after 37 minutes the day before that. Then they had another back-to-back on the 6th and 7th. He played 31, and then in the second leg played 35. So reasonable to assume that these guys aren't really held back all that much.
No, I think they're just going to let it rip. I mean, they're playing for stuff. Like, they're trying to win, so I assume they're just going to run these dudes into the ground. By the way, Rockets' starting lineup is exactly what we expected it to be with Jabari Smith at the 5.
Yeah, right. What else can they – what else? Why would you do anything else with the no bigs for Washington?
I mean, I could see not starting Amin Thompson and starting Jock Landale if you wanted to. Just – he's a rookie.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, you know
they have nothing to play for, so they should play Amin Thompson. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just started a normal center for 18 minutes and brought Amin Thompson off the bench.
Yeah, but Jock Landale stinks. I don't even know if he would help. Like even against a small front court, I'm not sure he would even help.
I mean, anyway. Amin Thompson stinks as well as a rookie, but he's been good.
I mean, he's not terrible. Like from a fantasy perspective, he doesn't stink.
I mean, like defensively, he's outstanding. He's just, I mean, he's one of the worst offensive players in the league.
From a shooting perspective, it has not been good yet.
No, he's shooting 16% from 3, 35% from the mid-range. He does everything else. I mean, from a defensive standpoint, both him and his brother have a real future, but they need to figure out how to shoot first.
Jason said, no late swap tool, no money. Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps, man. It certainly makes a difference. We've seen that too. Like Tom Kennedy, our CEO, was with the screenshots left and right, just being like, look, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just late swapping a lot after using the contest generator in the Sims tool. Like there wasn't anything like crazy voodoo magic to it, Josh. Like it's just getting those swaps in. I think sometimes people underestimate how big of an edge it is to have a late swap ability where if news breaks within minutes, you can make the optimal swaps, the highest simmed ROI swaps, and know that you're getting plus EV lineups in and not having to like global swap one player out for the same player.
I mean, it's changed everything. It's a completely different process than what it used to be. It used to be laborious and awful and made me never want to do it. And I didn't really trust it any other time. Now it's like, oh, I know exactly what to do here. I'm going to get exactly what I want it to be after this. And I know the field is going to screw this up and give me an even bigger edge by the fact that I can make this. We just had it happen on Monday and it paid me out.
Yeah. And you know what the best part is? You don't have to paste it back into a CSV to get it back on the DraftKings event. You just throw it right on to DK. That's the nice part. Anyway, you guys want to check it out? What's that?
Malik Beasley out.
Okay. You guys want to check it out, you guys already know. Links in the description and in chat. Whether it's the lineup simulator, which obviously includes every tool that we have on the site. Post contest simulator, you should use that. Late swap, contest generator, all of our data, premium Discord, or you want to dive in, or sorry, wade into the water slowly with still an excellent tool at a great price. If you're someone that's just getting into things or doesn't spend a lot of money on this, but still loves it, lineup generators out there too. I mean, there's no better stepping stone as a tool than the lineup generator. And I think the tweets and the screenshots and all of the Hall of Fame segments would speak for themselves when it comes to, the viability of a tool like that as well. So
yeah, if I was doing one lineup, two line, like playing three maxes and stuff, that lineup generator would be the nuts for me.
Yep. Links down there. You guys already know. And if you ever have any questions, DMs are open. And Greg did great tutorials on YouTube for the Sims tool. Definitely check him out. All right. Where are we at next here? Anybody else you want to talk about for the Clippers or Bulls?
No, I don't think so.
Dallas and OKC, 234.5 total. The Mavs are 11-point dogs without Luka Doncic. Was his status just straight questionable earlier in the day?
I'm assuming he was never on the injury report because they're on the back-to-back. So I'm assuming he was straight out right out of the gate.
The reason I ask, I didn't look earlier. Does anyone know what the line was before he went out?
I think the overwhelming assumption was that he was never playing, and he was always out. The moment they released it, he was out. That's the question then.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the line in this game if Luka plays? How much does he move a line in this game? They're 11-point dogs.
3 points less, probably, something like that.
How many?
3. Probably 8.
I'm honestly tempted to say more than that.
It's a lot.
I know. He's also really good.
No disagreement here.
Anyway, with him sidelined today, they're not in a great matchup either by any stretch, but I mean that it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter with Luka off the floor. Like when you could be in the worst matchup in the world, and this isn't the best by any stretch, but you take a guy like Luka Doncic off the floor. I mean, you're talking about somebody that on the season, Josh, has a 36% usage rate, 45% assist rate, and 13% rebound rate. You take him off the floor.
I mean, he leads. I assume he leads the team in everything.
I can't imagine anyone else would even have a higher rebound rate. Yeah. He leads the league in every like key metric outside of maybe blocks or whatever. But
yeah,
it just opens everything up, and you're going to get Exum, Irving, Hardaway, Gafford. His impact may be what are the comparable impacts in this league? Like Giannis, I think, is pretty comparable because Middleton's out. Especially,
I mean, it's the best players in the league. It's Giannis, it's Embiid, it's Nikola Jokic.
Jokic, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, even with Embiid, he's not an elite passer. Like Luka does all of it. Either way.
I mean, I don't want to say that Joel Embiid. I mean, Embiid sort of is just because of how tall he is.
He's gotten better. I
mean, an elite passer is Jokic. Embiid
but that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Embiid is great at getting someone the ball, but he's not like as natural doing it. Whereas Jokic just feels like he's an octopus and the ball is just in 27 different spots.
Well, Jokic can pass out of double teams, and Embiid still struggles with that. Like that's the biggest, Anyway, highest owned team on the slate.
Yeah, and for the most part, I mean, it's just like jam them with Houston. Now, this is a horrific spot. 6th ranked defense, losing Luka Doncic. They play shittier when they do this stuff. We've got, call it 50 to 60% ownership coming into Dante Exum, Kyrie Irving, and Tim Hardaway. Now, Exum's 3,600 point guard, shooting guard eligible. Tim Hardaway is 4K shooting guard, small forward eligible. Those prices are the problem in this spot. You get to 30 fantasy points for either one of those guys, and you've become successful. That's why, like, normally both of those guys have a bigger price tag when they're out. That's not the case here. These guys are basically free and at quality positions. That becomes problematic. Kyrie's Kyrie, 8,400, giant rate bump, 30+% usage, 30+% assist rate with no Luka Doncic around in this spot. I'll be honest, I am light on Kyrie. We have him 33% optimal, 52% owned. I have 33% exposure, 53% ownership. So like I'm coming in under, but I don't say that for any reason other than like it's just working out that way. I'm finding pivots in and around it. We talked about it. Maxey, Dame, this laundry list of guards. I do find easier ways to get a little bit away from him. He's an exceptional play, arguably the best play on today's slate in terms of ceiling. I don't want to undermine Irving, but the way that I'm playing is different than the analysis that I give. I'm also neutral to PJ Washington. He gets a bit of a bump, gets that usage rate back up a little bit. And we've seen him pick that up in Charlotte when guys are off the floor. Gafford pulling 38% ownership is very interesting to me. I'm aggressively fading that. I'm happy to do so. I don't think that this makes Daniel Gafford better by any means. I have to assume that Luka Doncic out there has a synergy with Gafford more than putting these other dudes out there. Now, Daniel Gafford has not missed a shot in days. He has made 33, I believe, 33 straight field goal attempts. Do you know that?
Is that real?
I'm pretty sure it's 33. Chad will tell us in 10 seconds, but I'm pretty sure it's 33 straight field goals. Yeah.
How much of that is just getting it handed to him on a platter by Luka?
Yeah, these aren't step back threes.
No. Dude, I was talking about it yesterday on an underdog video I did. Miles Turner is like the legit best, most productive roll man in the remote roll man in the pick and roll. And is it any surprise when you have Tyrese Halliburton as your, floor general?
Yeah. Patrick Beverley is going to start for Malik Beasley. So he has now just become a value play that we didn't have before.
If you want to call it that, yeah.
He's sub 4K.
I know. It's just.
It's like Dante Exum today, basically.
Right. There's still Dame out there, though.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very down on Daniel Gafford here. One, you surely don't expect him to not miss. And two, I don't think it helps him to have Luka Doncic not be on the floor.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable point.
And it's not that I don't think he's a decent play, but like there are plenty of centers to go around that aren't pulling 38% ownership. On a day where we are so concentrated on some of this ownership, if you need to find one place to get away from, I am very happy raising my hand on Daniel Gafford.
I get it, man. I mean, look, 5 of 5, 9 for 9, 7 for 7, 5 for 5, 7 for 7.
It's comical, isn't it?
Amazing. It's incredible.
Like,
but you're right.
Here's the good example. Daniel Gafford's 38% owned, right? Brook Lopez is 6.5. Lopez is $300 more expensive. Like, I'm just going to play that ownership game all day.
Also, it's an objectively bad matchup for Gafford too. The only argument I'd make here is that while Irving is not a Luka Doncic quality passer, this is still a hell of a player that can find an open big around the basket. So that would be my only argument. It's like, sure, it's not Luka, but it's also not, it's just a garbage backup that has no vision.
No, but it's one of those, it changes the entire scope of how they're running everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And again, like I have 14%. I don't want it to sound like I don't think he's a good play. We have him 30% optimal. I don't think that's crazy. I just think he's the easiest piece of ownership to get away from this team.
By the way, can you see on playback or on YouTube our exposure in the Sims run to Dallas?
I assume it looks a lot like mine.
Pull up playback and just
95 Exum, 79 Hardaway, 60 Washington, 56 Gafford, 49 Kyrie. So I have 82 Hardaway, 66 Exum, call it 35 Washington, 35 Kyrie, but just 14 Gafford.
Yep. Pretty incredible. Anyway, what are you doing with OKC? Because we got to get out of here. We still got another game.
That's fine. The next game isn't all that much to talk about. OKC is the same as they always are. Chet, Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, SGA. They're basically the only guys that you ever want to play from Oklahoma City when they're at full strength. All 5 of those guys are between 10 and 13% optimal. I've got a little bit more of Chet, a little bit more of Dort, a little bit less of Shea, which might change now that we have more value in and around the field on Jalen Williams. If you've got a particular starter from the Thunder that you like, I'm in for it. But I don't really think it matters which one you take because they all look the same as they always do. And it's a great spot. But bad Dallas defense, play at a relatively fast pace. Certainly going to be playing faster today with no Luka. Luka is not exactly a speed merchant out there.
New York Knicks, Portland. Stick around. Live before lock coming up after this, by the way. Yeah. And then playback. I'll be joining you guys in a little bit. You're going live at 7:30. We got 123 people watching in playback right now, which is actually
Kawhi Leonard in. James Harden
incredible.
out.
James Harden's out.
Kawhi Leonard in, which is
All right.
not the way that I thought that one was breaking.
Me neither, but that gives live before lock crew something to handle out of the gate when they get that started. So don't go anywhere. Let's wrap this one up, Josh. New York Knicks, Portland Trail Blazers, 205 total. 205. The Knicks are 10.5-point favorites today, okay? In a 205-point total. So that means, and granted, both teams play slow. Knicks play at a crawling pace. The Pacers have a 96-point implied total at home.
Bones Highland is starting for the Clippers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the name I was expecting.
Now, by the way, like I said, 96-point implied total for the Blazers is 7 points lower than the next closest team.
Yeah, it's bad. And it's not that great on the Knicks side either. No one in double digits of optimal. No one in double digits of ownership. You want to get a little bit of Brunson, pivot to any of those guards. You want to get a little bit of Josh Hart or DiVincenzo. I think it's okay. There's not a single guy from the Knicks you should be looking at and being like, all right, I'm going to get that. You want to play the Josh Hart, going to get a quadruple double game again or whatever the hell he pulled last time out. By all means, I have 2 shares.
Yeah, I mean, they have injuries, but that's about it. I don't know. On the Portland side, I mean, yeah, look, it is, you have to admit, though, it is insane that Josh Hart played 39 minutes in a massive blowout win, which he would have played more. This guy would have played more minutes in that game had it been relatively close. Like 39 minutes and didn't come back after 6 minutes into the fourth, dude. I mean, he might have played for another 45 minutes. And that was with OG Anunoby back and playing almost 30 minutes himself. That's insane.
I hate it so much.
And he triple doubled. But yeah. I don't see Tibbs pumping the brakes on Hart anytime soon with the way he's playing.
No, it's Tibbs. He probably doesn't even notice.
He might be trying to kill him. Anyway.
Wish you would have done it last game.
Are you doing anything with Portland?
I am. Now we got to wait on the Anthony Simons news because he got downgraded to questionable earlier today. That will open
Grant
some
is
things
out.
Yeah, I love DeAndre Ayton today. Here's my other guy that I want to get to that no one's playing. He's 7% owned. 1.4 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days for DeAndre Ayton. He played massive minutes yesterday. We saw him play 40.5. He played 40 2 games ago. I have 24% of Ayton. He's like my favorite play of the day. We have him 15% optimal, 7% owned. He's probably like the best optimal to ownership leverage play that we have today. I think he's sneaky. If everybody's going to eat 35% of Daniel Gafford, give me 7% owned DeAndre Ayton today. I have no problem doing that. And I've liked him all day.
Well, it's time for us to go. Is it Greg and Eric coming up next? I assume it is.
I would imagine.
Right before that. We have 346 likes. I forgot that. You think it's possible that we pull 154 likes in the next minute as we cross this? I think it's doable.
I doubt it. They probably can't even figure out how to do that.
Well, if you forgot, subtle reminder to the 2250 of you in here. 1 single second helps us out greatly. The YouTube algorithm, the YouTube overlords. You know how this works. They're assholes. Let's defeat them together. What type of dumb shit is that? But for real, hit that thumbs up. It does help us out a lot. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman on Twitter, me at Lafayette_D. Greg and Eric coming up next. Shout out to Jordan. Join us for playback 7:30 right after this. Remember, BetMGM, bet 5, get 150. Sims Tool and everything in between in the description if you want to check that out. We'll see you guys back here for the next one. Peace. Hey, it's that time of week again. Time to induct you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away a bunch of Stochastic packages on top of that as well. And all you got to do to get involved, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Let's see what we got on tap this week. Cheesy T with a $17,000 win. Shout out to Eric Lindquist for his nuke of the night. Second place will have to do. Couldn't have done it without the tools and videos by Stochastic. I rep the OG logo. Hope you don't mind. And then Jacob Hiller. Gotta be careful with that one. The last few days have been good to me. Big shout out to Stochastic and staff for providing absolute best tool on the market, period. Up 90 grand and some change in the last 7 days. Simple to quickly and efficiently adjust to however you like to approach a GPP. Nice work, Jacob. 90 grand in a week. Tyler Mattis, thought we had first locked up, but Henley let me down. Still a great week. Shout out to Stochastic and Greg Ehrenberg, who always give great insights into the tools. $15,000 win for Tyler. And for James, a $5,000 win at Stochastic Hall of Fame. Man, a few words. Wayne started playing again the past week. I won this with the Sims tool. Do I qualify for a free month of NBA? LOL, thanks a million. Was very happy to see that Nurk ejected. Also, yes, you do qualify, my friend. And Steven with a $15,000 win on top of that. Man, huge week for the Stochastic avatars. Kilo Whiskey, little late into the Hall of Fame, but never too late. Thanks to the Stochastic tools. Thank you guys. Second place in the N1. And Ben P's back. Back-to-back top threes using FanDuel, on FanDuel using the Sims. Almost pulled off the solo dub, but tied with different lineups. 4 in the top 40 out of 71,000 entries. And how about Ben? The playback stream after lock is definitely a huge help. Thanks, guys. Ben again split both of these last night, but another great night. Third time in less than a week. Yeah, Sims Tool coming up big for Ben. Dave Oliver, thank you guys for the great breakdowns and the Sims crush again. Elway's Army's been on a massive heater lately. Unhappy Cowboys fan, don't blame you. Won 2 days before my birthday and did not post. Is it too late for the Stochastic Hall of Fame shout out? Never too late, brother. Never too late. LV finished tied first in a field of 14,000 plus and second in a field of 10K. Smaller stakes, but got it done. Rocking the logo. Can I get my free month, please? Absolutely. And Willie Jenkins, first place in the Minimax. Binked my first NBA GPP. Thanks entirely to Stochastic. We keep going. Sean Geesey back in the list. Grabbed second in the late slate 4-point play. Shout out to Stochastic for the best tools in the game. And Jay, Stochastic Sims have been on fire. All credit to the tools for taking first in this contest, helping me get the second top finish in as many weeks. It's not a coincidence that the top 3 in this contest were all repping the avatar. And Rob came fourth in a field of 5,900 NHL tournament, took first in a smaller field NHL tournament. Really appreciate what you guys do every day. Mac, need to thank Slim Cliffy and Josh for their daily guidance. We got a couple NHL ones in here and weekly entertainment on Stochastic DFS. And then Moo Poo did it again. First place, $1,000 in some MMA action, followed by BK. Shout out to Eric and Stochastic on Malik Monk. $1 into 1,500 isn't bad. That'll do it. All of your winners inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, all you got to do to get involved, to get a free month, any Stochastic package of your choice up to $200 is finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more at any entry point and tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF.
The next 50 minutes. So you never know, bro. Yeah.
You never
We can
fucking
start,
know.
Jordan.
Yeah,
You don't
we're
have
ready.
to ask us. Let's start the thing.
Start the mother trucking program, you mother trucker.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, where everything that I did, and I assume everything Eric did in preparation for the show for the last hour or so, is all debunked as we were getting into Zoom, getting into playback, and the show about to start. Because we got news here. Kawhi Leonard, who was listed as questionable, he is in. James Harden, who was listed as questionable, is out. And Bones Hyland from left field starting in his place. I didn't really thought too much about what could be the different possible permutations of the Clippers lineup. I'm stunned that Kawhi Leonard is playing. I thought there was no chance he would be out there. But James Harden ruled out. We got Bones Hyland starting. So lots of stuff that I was not anticipating. We're going to break it all down for you guys here over the course of the next hour. And then, of course, after that, it is going to be playback time. We're going to hang out over there. We're going to give out bets. We're going to sweat them. We're going to watch the games. We'll react to any kind of late swap news for DFS. So you guys are going to want to check out playback after this show ends. But Eric, what is happening? Were you at all correct or anywhere close to correct in guessing what the Clippers would do?
No, 0% or I would have bet and done something about it. Yeah, this is a fascinating one. Obviously, Bones Hyland sucks at real basketball, but like he's cheap. Patrick Beverley's cheap. We got Malik Beasley ruled out. Don't know if you mentioned that one. And we just have a ton of value elsewhere. I mean, this is a pretty wild 6-gamer that we have before us tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't even looked up. I assume Bones Hyland must be min price or close to it, right?
Yeah. He is an absolute trash basket and a half, but Bones Hyland is also 4,100 is a little different than I expected, but it doesn't matter because I just changed him. I put him in for 26 and a half minutes and I'm already getting to him. I think we just got an update on our end. We have him at 27.6. Like, I am going to have to play Bones Hyland now. He's a high usage dude who likes to chuck, 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy. Chicago, they have Io on the other side. Alex Caruso. I mean, there's no Kobe White, obviously, tonight. Just kind of working through that. But like Javon Carter, Bateem, probably going to be playing some minutes too. This is just such a weird spot here for Bones Hyland. I feel like 4,100, just a guy that we're going to get a lot of today. I prefer him over Exum. I prefer him over... I'm just kind of like finding the guys that I'm just relative to ownership right now. I've got him and Bones projected pretty similar. But one's pulling 55% ownership. The other guy's going to get steamed up as this show goes on. We're just going to have to see where all the wreckage lands here. I don't think Patrick Beverley's somebody to be exactly sleeping on either at 3,600, considering he's starting. He has shooting guard eligibility as well. I mean, we've got 3 cheapies now between Exum, Beverley, and Bones Hyland, and figuring out which one to be going to at the guard spot, because we have so much mid-range value that already exists here with Houston, with Dallas. So, I mean, my God, getting those guys right is going to be pretty imperative.
Yeah, and like you said, we just got the owner. Well, we don't have the ownership, but the projection update. Ownership update is going to be coming soon. I'll be very interested to see what that looks like. And yeah, Bones Hyland is $4,100 on both DraftKings and FanDuel. So getting caught up to speed on what the pricing is for the Clippers, guys. We'll also start to break down what are some of the other Clippers we may potentially want to be getting to, because James Harden is out. That certainly does matter. So the immediate one that comes to mind is obviously Bones Hyland because he is the starter, but I'm scanning the other prices on this team, and outside of Bones Hyland, is there anybody that is immediately standing out to you as a better option from the Clippers than they were before?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, we didn't even think was going to be playing basketball tonight. His price came down after the injury against the Timberwolves, which is a tough spot. This is obviously a game with a 110 total here, implied total for the Clippers. So it's not like some treasure trove to uncover here. But we play a salary game. We play an opportunity game. And James Harden is a dude who creates, who goes out and does things in a pretty prominent fashion. Now, Bones Hyland starting is a little bit annoying because the usage that he's had this season. I mean, he's out there to do one thing and one thing only, and that's chuck. But you have Paul George with a 1.32 fantasy point per minute rate, Kawhi Leonard with a 1.30 fantasy point per minute rate without James Harden on the floor, 540 and 577 minutes respectively in terms of sample size. So I'm feeling good about both of them. I think the shooting guard small forward eligibility for Paul George is really nice at 8,300, but I think Kawhi is still the priority, the guy that you would expect them to be playing through the most.
And by the way, Jordan Klein, you could fuck right off with that. I see you in playback chat because Jordan, I want to say for a full year, every single Clippers game, Jordan would be like, hey guys, it's Brandon Boston night. And he ended up being right. I think it was 1 out of the 82 games that year. And he has brought up Brandon Boston anytime there's been a Clippers injury ever since over the last few years. But no, Jordan, probably not a Brandon Boston night. But for
top 3 dunk of the year, though.
To play at 11 minutes tonight in the stochastic projections, bring him in with a cool 8.42 fantasy points. What do you make of the minutes playing time for Kawhi, though? Because this is such a bizarre situation. I was so convinced he wasn't going to play. Also, the entire situation with what happened with him last game was totally weird and made no sense. He's sitting on the bench and just gets up and leaves, goes to the locker room, gets dressed, takes a shower, and just goes home. And they said, hey, he was uncomfortable sitting because of back spasms. I've never seen that happen where a player just leaves. And now that he's just going to be good to go a game later, do we have to be concerned about his minutes at all?
No. Why would they play him otherwise? Like, what? I think he's a full go. Like, I'm almost like more convinced that because he's active, there's no issue with his minutes. Like, he has had so many injuries over the years. He's had crazy fluky stuff that's happened. He's had back and forths with training staffs in San Antonio and Los Angeles, trying to get him right, trying to get everything going. He's ran really good in terms of injuries this season, but like, if you're the Clippers, you would have extra bubble wrap on him in this spot, and you just rest him, and you just say, hey, we'll punt this one, let Paul George go out and try to win us a basketball game, call it a day. No, Kawhi Leonard's good because apparently back spasms, it's something that can flare up from time to time. Like, I think you probably have to factor in that a tiny bit where it's like, oh, it could tense up on him, whatever. I don't really care. I think you just play it straight up, put him in for 35 minutes, and you move on with your life. Like, I don't know how to devalue him because I'd be so convinced the Clippers would at least be smart enough not to play him if there were any concerns whatsoever with his health.
Yeah, so I'm on the same page with you, and that's why our projections as well have it as 35.5 minutes for Kawhi Leonard. We have him at 35.5. We have Paul George at 35.5. And I agree with you in terms of just the logic of it is if they were actually concerned, if they were really concerned about Kawhi Leonard's health. And by the way, I mean, in terms of them thinking like he is 99% healthy instead of 100% healthy. I don't think he'd be out there. It's not like the Clippers are fighting for a playoff spot or anything like that. They've been great since the James Harden trade. They're currently, let's see, where are they at now? We have them.
I think they're third.
Fourth in the Western Conference. Okay. Not really too much risk of falling into the play-in game, but no realistic chance to move up to 1 either. They're kind of locked in to the middle ground in the Western Conference. There's just no reason to play Kawhi unless he's totally good to go. So I feel pretty good about that too. If he happens to get hurt during the game, it's Kawhi Leonard. That stuff happens from time to time, but I don't think it's something we should factor in going into the game.
100% with you.
And ownership is updated now. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We go and look at the main slate ownership. We have now, I'll sort by the Clippers, see what we have for these guys. Kawhi Leonard, interesting. Kawhi Leonard at 19% ownership. Bones Highland only at 17%. Zubats at 10. Paul George at 5. So there's ownership going to the Clippers, but it's not crazy. Like I thought Highland would be higher than 17%. Although I guess it does make sense when you consider how much value there is at other spots on the slate.
That's exactly it. And he's one position, 4,100 there. I mean, that's really what, it's somebody else before said, never entertain the idea of Patrick Beverley. It's like, yeah, no, I generally wouldn't, but that shooting guard eligibility, it's pretty massive. I know we have Jalen Green that's going to be absorbing some of that for sure at 7,700. I know that we have Amin Thompson. He can play multiple spots. Dylan Brooks, multiple spots later on. And then all of the Dallas guys that, have some multi-positional eligibility, specifically Kyrie Irving, 8,400 can be played at shooting guard. But like, because you can play him in that one extra spot, it matters so much getting to like a 3,600 Beverly. So I think it makes sense that he's the guy that's pulling a little bit more ownership than Bones. Plus Bones, I would expect that if he doesn't knock down shots, what are you doing there? You're just going to put Amir Coffey out there and close out that way, right?
So could you clarify, what am I doing with Bones Highland or Amir Coffey?
No. So I'm just talking about the rationale of like Bones Highland being lower owned than Patrick Beverley. He's 500 less. Patrick Beverley is. He has the shooting guard eligibility. Gotcha. And then the other thing is, if Bones Highland isn't knocking down shots, I do think there's risk to him just not closing. I think there's a lot of cases where he just doesn't close and you go Kawhi, George, Zubats, Powell, Man, or Powell, Amir Coffee. Like there's a lot of different ways that they can close in this configuration.
Gotcha. Yeah. And yeah, I do points per dollar. If we're talking about cash games on this slate, like Patrick Beverley be a higher priority cash game play than Bones Highland. I'm sure that's something we're going to get asked as we go along here. So yeah, I definitely think there's more security with Patrick Beverley's role, and then as well with him as an overall value play. We do have a bunch of super chats here. Jordan, I'm going to need your assistance. Of these super chats, which ones were answered during last show? Okay, so we got the super chat from Avi and Olrad14 then? Okay. So let's look at the super chat we have from Philly Phantom 1. He wants to know who are the top boost / dock options for a 20 max with the Sims. And thanks. So this answer is going to be much different than would have been before the show. I would have very confidently told you, because it was what I was doing, and now I have to rerun everything. The guy that I was all prepared to be aggressively boosting was Paul George, because I didn't think that Kawhi Leonard was going to play. I was kind of on the fence with James Harden. But now that we have injuries a little bit clearer, the only player that's super important to the slate that's still listed as questionable is Anthony Simons. What kind of player boost are you looking to make in the Sims tonight, Eric?
I will probably say an answer that'll piss you off because it's not concrete. I don't know yet. I do want to see what's happening with my portfolio of lineups. And if there's somebody inherently, like we got news that Scoot Henderson was going to move back to the bench, I got to think that they're going to start Scoot Henderson in the event that Simons is ruled out. I'm staring at Banton. I think that that's going to be a decent late swap play as well. Obviously, we have so many Dallas pieces that I don't have to go crazy trying to like, oh, I got to really carve out lineups for Banton, for Henderson, for these other guys. But I would like to pre-build a little bit where I have everything together pretty close. Like the one thing I saw Steve Buzzard talking about this when he was doing his office hours, I kind of just was scanning through some messages, reading stuff, because I don't know, he's one of the best DFS players in the world. You might want to go check out those office hours over in the Discord. But he was just basically talking about his process for the Sims when he's boosting guys, is it's like he has an idea of the allotment of a player he wants to get to, or it's like he's going to boost it to the point where he starts to get the player. It's not like, oh, I'm going to boost it by 10%, 15%, 20%. And I think that was a little bit liberating for me as I was building stuff pre-show. Obviously, that's changed a lot compared to who I was expecting to boost, because I got to see who I'm going to be getting to. But I think off the top of my head, two guys, Scoot Henderson, Banton. Scoot's been terrible. We talked about it nonstop, but he's a 0.90 fantasy point per minute guy. If you got it started at 5,200, I know it's the Knicks, but he can just walk into some defensive stats and do enough stuff in that regard. Not that he accumulates a ton of them. He's just a good defender, turns over like crazy. So not so much on FanDuel, but Banton at 5K, I think is obviously very appealing. DeAndre Ayton has been playing a gob of minutes. And then Matisse Thybulle, 3,900, shooting guard, small forward. I don't think anybody would really be putting him on their radar. I have a lot of interest for him in tournaments today.
Okay, yeah. So for me, in terms of players to de-boost, it's hard to say until I run everything to see what I actually get to when I update. As far as players that I'm looking to boost, it is... I mean, you had mentioned some of the guys from Portland here. It's definitely a possibility. The big one would have been the Clippers guys, but we've already got that situation settled. If anything changes for later, I'll let you know. But as of right now, I don't think there's anything I'm going to be changing in any kind of real significant way.
That's fair. Again, you don't really have to yet. You're probably going to change it after lock when you're swapping. You're going to probably be changing it before that game where you have number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in ownership today are all Mavericks. So like turning them into Banton at the price point where you have PJ Washington 5,100, Daniel Gafford 4,900, super easy. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna have lineups where I can just go up to Scoot Henderson too if he gets the start. Like there's going to be a lot of easy ways to swap off of some of the Dallas guys into some Portland pieces. So yeah, I'm probably with you where I'm not going to have to do a whole hell of a lot now.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is you don't have to do boost every single night. The way that I use them is always to position my lineups for late swap. So when I'm boosting, deboosting players, it's usually if I want to minimize my exposure to early games or I want to maximize my exposure to later games to try to be able to best react to injury news. Yesterday, for instance, we were talking about wanting to get to Trace Jackson Davis. Unfortunately, swapping off Daniel Gafford to get to Trace Jackson Davis, it was not something that worked in our favor at all yesterday, especially because Trace Jackson Davis had double the ownership of Daniel Gafford. So the way that I do normally want to do it, though, is that kind of scenario like yesterday. We've got players in a late game where somebody's questionable. There's potential value to open up. But we don't have that. We basically got everybody that was on the injury report. We've gotten the news other than Anthony Simons. And I'm not necessarily dying to get to players from the Portland Trailblazers, even if Simons is out. So there's players that I'd be willing to swap to, but there's nothing right now where I want to set up my lineups to make sure I'm jamming Portland guys.
Yeah, 9 stocks yesterday I saw for Daniel Gafford. Woo, way to go, bud. Really proud of you. Great job.
He also hasn't missed a field goal in like 3 weeks or something ridiculous.
33 consecutive field goals.
Forever. He's never missed a shot in his entire life.
Forever.
All the shots
forever. Yeah.
But either way, he's putting those dunks down, and Luka is setting them up, and he is putting them away. But Philly Phantom, for sure. If I'm rerunning my lineups in, which I'm going to start doing again once I'm done talking here, and something's different, if I've seen like, oh, I don't want this in my lineups, then I'll let you know that something has changed for sure. Avi Schreier says, thanks for the help last night. Bunked? I think he meant binked. Well, we could say bunked. He bunked 5K on FanDuel with a smiley face. Congrats on the bunking.
Love it.
Love to see it, Avi. Congrats. And yeah, anybody else, whenever you have wins, add us. Tweet us out over on Twitter at StochasticHOF. If you have the Stochastic avatar, you win a tournament, get yourself a free month of a package of your choosing. Something to take advantage of. Ryan Andriotti leveling up to $100 single entry today. Best DK values. Overall for the slate, Eric, who do you consider the best values on DraftKings with all the recent news being considered?
I'm in Thompson for sure still. Dante Exum to some extent. Kyrie Irving, definitely. Tim Hardaway Jr., definitely. PJ Washington, definitely. Patrick Beverly, one of the better values. Again, Kyrie Irving, it's weird to say value, but that's what he is. He's projected for like 6X, and it is what it is. Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, everybody from Houston as well. I mean, we could just go down the line. There is an eternal amount of value today that makes building very, very easy. And I think this is going to probably lead into some nuke of the night because we're running into a very, very similar situation that we've had on a couple of these slates. And yesterday, we had some decent enough value and jammed Luka, and that didn't go well for me. Had a pretty brutal night. But with Giannis, with Shea, with Tatum, I suppose, even to some extent, we've got some studs to be paying up for that aren't pulling a ton of ownership. So, finding these values, obviously it's going to be very, very important, but then, what are we going to unlock? What are we really going to go to on the top? Yeah, it's going to be a fun slate, man. But yeah, those are your top values right now.
And shout out to Dan 06712, who's been a regular for us over in the playback chat. He also said that he won 3K this week using the sim. So
let's go.
Lots of people coming out and telling us about the wins that they've had and things like that. If you guys do want to sign up for any of the packages at Stokastic.com, sign up using the link that we have below, and whatever packages that you think is best for you, whether it's the Sims or if you want the data package, we got the data all access, which is going to be a great value, particularly in a couple of weeks. We got baseball starting. So you're going to have baseball, basketball, NASCAR, golf, NHL, just everything going on at the same time. So if you want data, we got the data all access package now. Or if you're somebody who's a lower dollar player and you just want the lineup generator, which is going to build lineups for you, but also includes our ownership projections, player projections. Those are right there in the lineup generator. That's less than $15. You could sign up for that using the link that we have below, and all of it gets you access to our Discord channel where people ask us questions like our friend in here. Oh, a bunch of questions that are coming in. But first, Parker Boy wants to know, how do we feel about Kelly Olynyk points prop? Which it also depends kind of what site you're looking at, but I'll pull up Odd Shopper here to see what Kelly Olynyk's line is right now.
Toronto isn't on the slate.
But yeah, that's weird. Is there a different oh, he might Kelly Oubre yeah, Kelly Oubre is on the slate.
Kelly Oubre, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Kelly Oubre. I was gonna say there's no Kelly Olynyk.
There we go. I always think about when I hear Kelly O, I just associate with Kelly Olynyk, but I guess it does make sense for Oubre as well.
Yeah, because it's Tsunami Poppy. We're going to be talking the nickname for one Kelly Oubre, one of the better nicknames that exists in the league.
So for what it's worth, under 15.5 points for Kelly Oubre, that is popping up as a plus EV bet over on Odd Shopper. What is the best available line? The best available line is -105 on DraftKings. Playable line according to the data over at OddsShopper. So go for it, Parker boy. Then Hey, I'm Drew wants to know DK cash plays for tonight. Who are the best overall cash game options for DraftKings?
Let me just run my optimal for you because it's going to be smarter than me talking out of my ass, because you know most of the guys, I think, by now of who you should be getting to. I'm just curious what my one true optimal ends up being here. It's taking a while. All right. Oh, wow. Bones Highland is in it. Highland, Thompson, Kawhi, and Giannis. Hello to both of them. And then 4 Mavericks. That is not very surprising.
There we go. Let me also look at... You said Thompson, right?
Yep.
Exum, you have to play Exum in cash games today.
Yes, you do.
I think Exum is somebody who has to be in cash.
Yes, he does.
4 players, just based on how popular are, that should absolutely be in cash game lineups. Amon Thompson, Dante Exum, Kyrie Irving, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yep.
Have to play those 4.
Yep. I think this is the easiest cash day we've had in a long, long time. There's not even like a 2v2 that I can come up with. I think this is pretty clear cut what you should be playing, what I'm staring at.
Got a question here from, here we go. Barry Deering. Barry Deering wants to know Beverly or Craig in a single entry on DraftKings. Patrick Beverly.
By far, Beverly.
And then Clintwood 83. Is Kawhi a DK cash play? Yes and no. So I don't call him a must play in cash, but I think he's a good play if that follows. So if he's somebody who, for sure, if you have him in cash, I'm not going to tell you to take him out. But if you don't have him, I'm not going to tell you have to play him either.
I would for sure play him in cash, but I understand the way that sounds. Because, I mean, your guard spots, you can't go to SGA because you're just going to be paying up, and you have to play Giannis because he's the highest projected and we have eternal value. So, like, those are 2 musts for me. And as a result, the guy who just shows up the most for me, an 8,400 Kawhi Leonard.
The next question that we have here is Gray. Gray's asking us a FanDuel 2v2 question. Ayo Dosunmu and Kawhi Leonard, or Torrey Craig and Giannis Antetokounmpo for a FanDuel large field?
Definitely the first one, and it's all because of Craig. It's not that I don't like Giannis. I think you should be playing lots of Giannis today.
Yeah, so I would say of the players that you have in there, it's definitely, and also Ayo's benefiting from the absence of Kobe White as well. You got Kawhi benefiting from the absence of James Harden. Torrey Craig, like, sure, he's serviceable when you consider that the Bulls are shorthanded, but yeah, it's definitely Ayo Dosunmu and Kawhi Leonard for me. Should we answer a couple more questions, or do we want to do the nuke of the night now?
Let's do nuke quick. Let's get that out of the way.
All right, Jordan, play the animation. Let's get the nuke of the night rolling. Good choice. Gives me a chance to turn my head and update. I like it. All right, Eric, here we go. It is time for the nuke of the night. I've got one in mind that I'm pretty excited about. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first if you're that excited. I'm happy to pass the torch. Yeah.
So this is one who I just assumed we were all going to be playing until ownership updated. Bones Highland. If you look at all the value plays we have on the slate, Bones Highland just kind of gets left a little bit in the dust. Only 16% projected ownership for Bones Highland. We don't know what his minutes are. Like you brought up before. Is he going to close? Is he not going to close? We don't know. Here's what we do know about Bones Highland, though. He has a ceiling for fantasy. And if you look at some of the other players that people are rostering, Patrick Beverly, sure, he's safer than Bones Highland. Bones Highland has a higher ceiling, though. I have zero doubt about that. So if we're actually going to be getting modest ownership on Bones Highland, which appears to be the case, 16%, $4,100 on both DraftKings and FanDuel, I like being overweight to Bones Highland. Give me him as the nuke of the night.
Wow. I'm torn. Do you want my crazy off the wall one piece of differentiation, or do you want my what are the people doing not jamming this guy play?
I will leave it up to you. I'll let you talk about what you want. Freedom of speech, my man.
See, I mean, the tough thing about Norman Powell, he's 5,200, is that I probably don't want to do it, knowing that Delano Banton could end up being a thing at 5K and all the Dallas value, and you kind of need the minutes to really work out for him, and it's not a great matchup. So I'm probably going to be steering away from that one. I was looking at like the low on one, but I will say there's one piece in the evening window that I know is a terrible fantasy producer. I know is somebody that we've just had uncomfortable feelings about in the past here. I'm going to throw Matisse Thybulle out there. So if you get Simons ruled out, so it's a nuke of the night with an asterisk. We're talking about one piece of differentiation, 3,900 for just a 0.68 fantasy point per minute guy. And it's like, oh, Eric, what are you doing? We're seeing him play 30 plus minutes in a lot of these spots with all the other guys out. And, Chris Murray hasn't really been playing all that well. Reith now just backing up Ayton. They're never going to share a floor together. So with Brogdon out, Jabari Walker out, Jeremy Grant out, and then potentially Simons out, that's a guy who might have to be walking into 32 plus minutes. We know he can do a lot of things defensively to really buoy his box score. He averages nearly 2 steals and a block a game. So you're talking about north of 2.5 stocks per game. So if you're playing on FanDuel, that has some extra utility, but nobody's going to want to play him.
The game isn't on FanDuel, by the way.
It's not on FanDuel? That's a bummer. Well, I'm not playing FanDuel, could you tell? But anyway, Matisse Thybulle, 3,900, shooting guard, small forward, gives you a little bit of extra utility. I would expect him to end up starting in this spot. I'm not sure how much people are really going to be swapping or doing anything with, but he's now played 32 minutes off the bench in 2 of their last 3. They're obviously carving out time for him for God knows what reason, because I think we all know what he is. Good defender, terrible offensively, but there are enough question marks on some of this other value. I do think Bones Highland, I'm nervous about the minutes for what it's worth. I do think that we're going to get tons of concentrated chalk around Dante Exum. I think just finding a way onto Matisse Thybulle at 3% as a 1v1, like a point of differentiation sounds nuts, but I think it's going to be easier to swap onto him than some of these other pieces because of the multi-positional eligibility. So the most disgusting one I've had in a long time, Matisse Thybulle, nuke of the night.
All right, there we go. Matisse Thybulle, Bones Highland. Those are your guys' nuke of the nights is. And now Ace of Spade wants to know what our favorite options for DK tier. So Ace of Spade, of course, we got you covered here. DK tiers, starting with tier 1, Eric. I am going to be going with Luka Doncic. Oh, no, sorry. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I just saw Luka's name.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the easiest one ever.
Like, no, you can't, because he's out for it. I'm so just predispositioned to answer Luka. It's Giannis.
It's Giannis by a lot.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we have in tier 2. Tier 2 for me, that is going to be, by the way, the options in tier 2, fairly shitty relative to other tier 2 options. James Harden, he's out. Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant. I'm going to go with Durant here.
Durant.
Tier 3, this is
Kyrie,
an easy one. Kyrie was Luke out.
Yep.
Tier 4, there's Fred VanVleet, Kyle Kuzma, Paul George. I'm going to go with Paul George with James Harden out.
I like Kyle Kuzma.
Okay. Now, if we go to tier 5, that is going to be DeAndre Ayton for me. You can make a case for Anthony Simons, but I'm going to go with Ayton here, especially considering that we've got Ayton projected slightly better. If Simons sits, then it's going to be even a stronger lean towards Ayton. So I'm going to say Ayton for now, and then it would be even a stronger conviction. Conviction. That's the word I'm looking for. Conviction play on DeAndre, and if Simons doesn't play.
Swami, Samsonite. Go ahead.
Sometimes just forget what words mean.
It's okay. Words are words and their things.
Grasping for us. Like, I know what the word is, but what is it? Conviction. Tier 6, that is going to be Jabari Smith with Şengün out, and Smith not quite being priced appropriately for this. Like, he really should be a tier 5 guy.
I would agree.
There we go. All right. The next question here is from Pierre. Best plays at each position on FanDuel, main and late slate. Okay, so I only have lineups run for the main slate. So I'm going to answer for the main slate, and then I'm going to go and rerun it for the late slate. Afterwards.
I just ran them on in the background. 4,100 Bones Highland on FanDuel. Good Lord.
Same price he is on DraftKings. Bones Highland.
I know. It's always better on FanDuel when you see that. So just play tons of Bones Highland.
Bones Highland at point guard. Dillon Brooks at shooting guard.
Jalen Green for me at shooting guard.
Small forward, that is going to be Corey Kispert.
Denny Avdia.
Power forward, the aforementioned Jabari Smith. And then it's center, Nikola Vucevic.
Brooke Lopez for me. Why? Why is that the case? I don't know. I must have. I would want Vooch. I normally have Vooch show up on FanDuel lineups, so that's weird for me.
And then if we're talking about the late slate here, that is going to be Kyrie Irving for me at point guard. Pretty obvious reasons why.
Yep.
Shooting guard, that will be Dante Exum, kind of the same sort of idea. Small forward, Tim Hardaway Jr., also sort of the same kind of idea. Luka's out. That opens up all kinds of usage, playing time. Also, it's only a 2-game slate for the late one. So with it only being 2 games, Simons being out would really change the late game 2-game slate on FanDuel, but we don't have that information right now. The game doesn't start for almost 3 hours. Power forward, PJ Washington. Center, DeAndre Ayton. So those are the top plays I was getting to at each spot for the late slate there, Pierre. But once again, keep yourself up to date on the injury news. A lot of that changes a lot if Simons is out, but the Mavericks guys are going to look good no matter what. Freudian slip, no exotic animation. He left us a $5 super chat just to see the exotic play of the night animation. Jordan, play it. He left us $5. We have to do it. I'm not even going to make you name a player, Eric. He just wants to see the animation. It's going to make him happy. Anything is possible, my friends. It gets the juices flowing every single time. Also, if you haven't done it, do us a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by BetMGM today. If you guys haven't taken advantage of the BetMGM deal, you're running out of time. Couple days left in their promo offer. You sign up using the link we have. You bet $5 to give you $150 in bonus bets. So take advantage of the deal before it goes away in the next couple of days. Sign up with the link we have below. If you or anybody know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Ryan Andriotti wants to know for the final spot, Eric, Daniel Gafford or Andre Drummond. Keep in mind that Daniel Gafford is, he makes every shot he takes.
Gafford.
Yeah, Gafford for me as well. It's Luka's out, right? It's got to be Daniel Gafford with that kind of consideration. I know that directly it's not that Gafford is going to see more playing time or anything like that, but you have to figure his usage goes up a little bit when he's on the court. Malcolm Revamp also asked us about DK tiers. So let's rehash our DK tiers picks. Tier 1, Eric and I both had Giannis. Tier 2, Eric and I both had Kevin Durant. Tier 3, we both had Kyrie Irving. Tier 4, I went with Paul George. Eric went with Kyle Kuzma. Tier 5, we both went with DeAndre Ayton. Tier 6, we both went with Jabari Smith Jr. There, Malcolm Revamp. Thomas Ryan wants to know who are the best plays at each position for DraftKings tonight. Do we want to
finishing out my lineups here?
We want to do the deal where we just say what our ownership is, or we want to also kind of factor in who we're overweight to? Because there's a lot of chalk plays that are really sensible for the slate. I don't know. How do we want to do it today, Eric?
Your guess is as good as mine. Let's just go
play a point guard. We'll just get Kyrie Irving at point guard.
Kyrie Irving.
Shooting guard.
Dante Exum's pretty close.
Yeah. I'll say Dante Exum at shooting guard.
Yeah. And I will throw it out there. I'm going to find ways to turn Dante Exum into some Portland. I will. There's no way I'm going to play like currently I have 88% of him. I'm not going to play 88% of him.
Small forward, very difficult to get away from Tim Hardaway Jr. at 4.
Sure is.
Power forward. Here's where we could start to get a little bit more interesting. At power forward and center, where we don't have guys that are 70% owned that are just absolute smashes of smashes. Power forward, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard, who does not have infinity ownership.
I would like that very much. Kawhi Leonard, I have an absolute metric ton of, 64%.
And then center's another position where I think there's a handful of different ways that we could end up going. Gafford's chalk, Washington's chalk. Both of them, I think, are pretty warranted. The kind of popularity they're picking up. PJ Washington's also going to show up in more lineups because he has power forward and center eligibility, whereas Gafford is only center eligible. But I'm going to go Jabari Smith here.
Jabari Smith.
All right. So thank you very much for the super chat there, Thomas Ryan. Riley Cooper 14 wants to know Al Horford or Kelly Olynyk for you tonight, Eric? Oh, no, Kelly Oubre. God damn it, he said Kelly O, and I just read that as Olynyk again. Kelly Oubre. Horford or Oubre?
Neither, but I would go Kelly Oubre.
You don't have to be... Why are we getting multiple questions about Kelly Oubre?
I don't know. I think there was one spot in particular where I saw he was pretty popular. Not us. Let me just say I don't agree with it.
I'll take between the two of them. Oubre, he has a little bit more upside, in my opinion, but neither of them are priorities on this particular slate there, Riley Cooper 14. If you're only playing one lineup, I do recommend you rebuild it and get some other dudes into your lineup there instead. Let's see, what's the price point? Horford, Olynyk. Maybe there's a different guy we like in that price range. Okay, so 6,300. And Oubre is, I assume he must be trying to fill out the forward spot. Yeah, Oubre 6,200, Horford 63. All right, so let's see what else there's available around there. Not much. It's a pretty shitty price range. Is there anything else that stands out to you in that range? Because it's a no for me.
Nope. Nope.
Do you have anything? What's closest for you? If there's somebody else who you're kind of fringy on, because like I think that Thompson is a better option than Oubre or Al Horford, but he's considerably cheaper. Don't want to make you leave a bunch of salary on the table, but if you could go to Thompson instead, which I know the Thompson brothers have been just super fucking annoying because they're popular all the time lately and they always suck. But it's been warranted a lot of the times. And I once again think it's worthwhile getting to Thompson.
I would much rather play Tyus Jones than Kelly Oubre. Much rather play Tyus Jones.
I was assuming it was the forward spot though that he's filling.
Okay. Then don't do any of that. I mean, there's maybe a chance where no, I wouldn't do Bobby Portis. Yeah, I would just kind of rethink that. Al Horford's definitely a no. We'll put it that way.
All right, let's see what we have for our next question. Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, we appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you over in playback here in about 15 minutes. Next question we have here, it is from Stokes. Stokes wants to know, Rico Rod asked best FanDuel plays by position, but we did just go over that. So Stokes wants to know, who is the best pay-up option and who is the best pay-up option? 9K and up. That's the price range he gave us. 9K and up. Who's the guy?
9K and up. Giannis. I have so much Giannis.
I wish he gave us a little bit lower of a price point. It is Giannis. There's only a few guys to choose from, though, at that range.
Yep.
The reason it becomes Giannis, too, is if you're playing lineups that leave that just roster a lot of the value plays, there's nobody else to pay all the way up for other than Giannis. And he's not all that popular either. Got ownership in the teens. Giannis.
No, he is not. Definitely Giannis.
Bees in your ass. Okay. What lineup generator setting today? I would go balanced.
I have no words for that name. That's fantastic. That was going to be me last week. Unfortunately for you, it wasn't the case.
What a horrific way that'd be for Eric to die because he's allergic to bees.
Yeah, it would be bad.
Oh my God,
I got my EpiPen though, so
I will say what it is that happened to you.
It was very sharp of me to have an EpiPen in here, even though I had never seen bees in my place once in my entire life. And then all of a sudden I had a swarm of them. So that's cool. They apparently fell down from a tree that overhangs my stuff, which good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, that was it would have been a way to go out though. Would have been something. Just
that's show business, baby.
Gator Nation 850 wants to know who's the top fade of the day with high ownership, and then do we think Dylan Brooks is good chalk on FanDuel? Okay, so who is our favorite fade of the day over on FanDuel? I'm going to say Torrey Craig, who's a little bit popular over there.
I don't even have to see Torrey Craig on my sheet to know that I would feel the same way about FanDuel if I saw Torrey Craig showing up in a bunch of lineups. So I'm with you.
What am I doing wrong here?
I don't know. What are you doing wrong? Probably. Are you getting errors? Are you getting something weird? What's happening?
Lots of things.
Oh, I got my lineups up.
Okay, I know what I did. I'm an absolute goofball. All right.
I will say the one guy that's showing up in the Sims a ton, and obviously he's won me 100K once upon a time, so I'm not going to bitch about it. Vika Zubats is showing up a lot. How about for you?
I'm rerunning stuff right now. I'd fucked up everything I was doing, and I just found out why.
Loser.
Yeah, that's all right. I figured out with
Hasselhoff and dodgeball when he comes in and just berates the German team. Losers.
I will know shortly. All right, we got a question here from Malcolm Revamp. He says, I'm on a date and she's yelling at me. What are the DK plays? First off, she sounds like a keeper. Second off, who are the go-to DK plays? So Who are the guys, Eric, who maybe the chalk plays you like the most, and then a contrarian option as well to differentiate in tournaments?
Yes, I mean, differentiation. I talked about like Matisse Thybulle, Banton could probably go into that category for sure. The go-to values that are good, Amin Thompson. We assume that Landale isn't going to cut into his minutes as much as what he did last time. They're at different positions, and obviously Washington, they'll get smoked here. Amin Thompson also has to shoot the ball more at some point in time. Whatever happened last time out with 23 minutes, 2 shot attempts, I think we're going to see a little increase there. I will also throw out contrarian if you're going like different amongst Dallas. I mean, I guess there's not really like a different way to go with Dallas because they're all pretty damn popular. But like one guy who's not pulling any ownership that I'm trying to use as a piece of differentiation is Josh Green as well. I think that's somebody who could just walk into a different role. And he is pulling exponentially less ownership than Dante Exum. And Dante Exum, for all intents and purposes, hasn't gotten those minutes ramped up yet again. 25, that was yesterday. Do they have him play immediately 25 again here? I would be a little bit surprised by that. So again, Exum's somebody that I just have a feeling. So I'm playing tons of him right now. I'm assuming I'm going to trim that down come tip off of that game.
So for me, now that I've fixed everything that I'm looking at here,
I tried to give you some time there.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Everything's all set. The players that I think you just can't get away from: Tim Hardaway Jr., Dante Exum, Kyrie Irving. All of them are popular. All of it's warranted. By the way, I'm very close to the field on Kyrie, but he's still that puts him in over half my lineups. He's in 52% of them, close to the field on Kyrie, but still somebody who's very difficult to get away from. I also, by the way, Bones Highland's ownership projection has come up quite a bit from earlier, where I'm running stuff through the contest generator and much more popular than the 16% that he had on the initial run. But still, I think that he's still somebody we should be looking at his price point of $4,100. As far as a contrarian play goes, I am overweight to, here's a couple of very low-owned players that I'm getting to. Damian Lillard, only 8% projected ownership. Here's why I'm getting to Dame. Kind of the same situation we talked about with Giannis before. There are a very limited amount of spend-up options on this slate, and trying to identify who are the players that have high upsides at a high price point, honestly, with a good amount of value the field isn't getting to. Dame is certainly one of them. Another one for me is Jaylen Brown at the shooting guard small forward spot with 15% projected ownership. So those are a couple of lower owned guys that I'm using that are making my lineups not all of the chalkiest lineups in the world.
I dig it.
Let's see what we have next here. We've got a super chat from Shane Daly. Says, "Will I get bones tonight? Like I got dick I got like the dick I got last night."
Well, you Shane must be Daly, fun at parties.
I love you, man, but you fucking suck at trying at the clever wordplay super chats.
You really do.
Will I get bones tonight like I got the dick I got last night? And he spelled dick wrong as well.
It's a real big stretch. Like, honestly, I'd think about your actions and like maybe try again. Not tomorrow, but like in a couple of years, go home, work on the material, go to the lab like it's 8 Mile, and then come back out a stronger person. Because right now you suck.
Will I get bones tonight like the dick I got last night?
Yeah, that's well, I'll
say I certainly hope that Bones Highland is better than what Grady Dick was last night.
Yeah, nothing could be worse than the fact that I had 17% of that absolute dunce cap loser play Dario Saric. Good job, Eric.
Jamal Parker, Tatum PRA, more or less. What is the number on Tatum? I'm looking it up on Odd Shopper.
I think I'm going to play some Norman Powell too, for what it's worth. I do think Norman Powell is really good leverage today. I'm a little bit surprised to see Norman Powell getting nothing. He can walk into 34, 35 minutes. I know he's, it's not crazy likely, but.
Tatum's PRA, by the way, is 42.5. The under projects well on Odd Shopper, so I'm going to say less than 42.5 for Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Less than 42. You got to take a side. Under 42.5, Jamal Parker. Thank you for the super chat. Sean Carpin, under 4,400 utility spot favorite play. He already has Bones Highland and Tim Hardaway Jr. Okay, so $4,100 in the utility spot, $4,400, and he's already rostered Bones Highland and Tim Hardaway Jr. Who would be next up there? Boy, these options are not great at all. Lou Dort. Lou Dort.
Yeah. Probably Dort.
I don't like him. He's just the best option of the guys in that price range.
Yeah, it's not an enjoyable experience to see that name and click on that, but these
Let's
are
get
dark
into
times.
Discord and bang out as many questions as
Love
we
banging.
can here before we get into lock. Einsteinium says OG sub 6K feels like this is a great spot for him. Your thoughts? Yeah, one of the biggest issues, just the pace of play in this game and a potential blowout. The Knicks are 11.5-point favorites. I know they left Josh Hart to play a million minutes in garbage time to accumulate stats for no reason last game, but Anunoby's not a priority for me.
No, definitely not.
Bucko Bobby 813 is the free month for a top three, a one-time thing. It is once per calendar year, but not like once forever. K Sizzle, any pick six plays you're liking tonight, Eric?
Yeah, I had a couple of them, and obviously there's going to be some things that change. That's the really nice thing about heading over to playback after the show is that I feel like I have more time to be able to walk through it. But I did some backloading of some stuff. 17.5, I like less than for Dante DiVincenzo. That's kind of a placeholder play for me. And I say placeholder because you're allowed on pick six to swap off of your play to something else. Now, I was very curious what they were going to drop for Dallas OKC. I haven't combed through any single Dallas play, but I'm backloading a ton of pick six lineups to have it set up so that I am able to access anything and everything that exists in that evening window.
See what we have next here. Super chats, those are all covered. And then we've got a question from Clintwood83. Who are some players to ROI boost for FanDuel? So here, particularly for FanDuel, why I would not recommend doing any kind of boost. The entire slate, it all starts within a 30-minute window, and we have all the injury news. So I don't think there's anything you should be changing at all for FanDuel. You're much better off just playing everything as is. It's going to give you better results than trying to change for your particular preferences or for there's no injuries to talk about. So I don't think you should for FanDuel. JEW, is Eamon Thompson going to screw us again? Yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
It's all he's done to me. I've been dicked down by Eamon Thompson, but both Ozer and Eamon Thompson a dozen times this year.
Yeah. Can't wait for Jock Landale to play 30 minutes today, and it's like 18 for Thompson, and we're just in shambles.
Master PJ, is Caruso in the running for the exotic play of the night with Derek White with Kobe White out. Oh, I like it. We got a White reference with Kobe White being out and Alex Caruso.
You're all terrible people.
He's in the mix. I don't think I would actually go with Zubats, who Eric had mentioned before, as my exotic play, but there's certainly merit to getting to Caruso. Question from JEW wants to know, where would you get different from your optimal in a DK single entry? I'm playing Jaylen Brown in single entry. I'm playing Giannis in single entry. There are players that are not crazy high owned that I'm liking for single entry. I think anybody you could get to that's a pay up option that doesn't have an insane amount of ownership is a good way to differentiate your single entry lineup.
That's so well said, Craig. You're so special.
Yeah. I mean, Giannis right around 20%, ownership in the teens on Jaylen Brown. These are not going to be people the field is going to be getting to all that often in single entry.
Nope.
Mod Dub T, Kawhi or Paul George if you had to pick one? Kawhi.
Kawhi for sure.
Last second super chat from Corey Bomber. He wants to know Giannis and Hardaway or Jabari Smith and Kuzma. That's going to be Hardaway and Giannis. It's
Hardaway and Giannis for sure.
Plays on the slate.
Yeah, those are two of my highest owned plays right there.
And then we'll just bang these rest of these ones that came out just all at once. Beverly and Washington or Hardaway and Gafford. Hardaway and Gafford. Dr. 2-inch. Great name as always. Thoughts on Chet is another high upside, low ownership spend?
No, not today. Not today.
Did you land on much of Chet?
No. I had a ton before the show. I have 0 now.
Yeah, I have 9% of Chet. I see 50. Ayo Dosunmu or Tyus Jones, Eric? Who do you have more of?
I love Ayo. Ayo is somebody that I am playing a lot in tournaments. I have one share of Chet. I'm a liar.
That is Ayo over Tyus Jones for me. Giannis and Zubats or Kawhi and Vooch. That is Giannis and Zubats for me. Same. And then PRA for Tatum is 44.5. Yeah. So Parker, Jamal Park, we read your super chat. We both went with under 44.5.
Yes, we did.
All right. That is going to bring us to lock. Guys, if you haven't done yet, do us a big favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join us over on Playback. The show ends on YouTube, but it's going to continue going over on playback. So go join us over there. Also, I think Lofty's joining us in a little bit. He had some optimism that the kids were going to be able to go to bed early tonight. So check out that as well. A little bit of fun times there. We'll be loading up the playback. So come join us over there. Peace out.